It's sparkle.
Kitty go purr when you hold on to his fur. Everything a blur. In a fast lane to the moon. Doggy go bark when you're cruising in the dark. Teeth so sharp, trying to bite him like a shark. No, he ain't coming down soon. When the day's up, a doggy don't like it when a cat like me is going through life successfully. So they make a big buck as I fly through the sky. Hold on to my bird, boy, don't you cry. Cause we're gonna make it now, break through the clouds. No more doggy barking, where are they now? It's easy to hear them when you're on the ground. But when you're up on the moon, you don't hear a sound. You don't hear a sound.
That made me laugh out loud because I swear my own cat tries to talk like that sometimes. Probably going, screw you, you dumb human or something,
Well, yes, that's the whole thing is like translating what the heck is that kitty cat saying?
Sometimes we may not want to know what they want to say to us.
Well, I think that the great thing about the Kiffness is that he's really great at translating
Uh-huh.
what the cat says or what the
Yeah.
dog says.
And of course, there are intuitives who specialize in speaking to animals and to pets. I bet you do that with your Mila.
I do.
Yeah.
But I think I've come to the conclusion that my cat is a little bit schizophrenic because she will come up next to me, want to be petted, and
Mm-hmm.
then it'd be like, pet me. And then you
Mm-hmm.
pet her, she's, and then she attacks. And so my cat is crazy. I love her, but
Basically,
she's
all
crazy.
cats are schizophrenic and crazy. And I have a Siamese, so it's like magnified 10 times over. But I just laughed watching that because she will talk to me that way. She will have whole conversations. And something, I believe cats over time, they start to mimic us. They listen to our voices and they start to semi-form words that at least sound like words. I had someone tell me once they had a cat they had to throw in the other room. I mean, not throw, but put in the other room because company was over and they shut the door. The cat wasn't happy and was clawing on the door. And she said, I swear to goodness, I heard my cat go, help me, help me. It was actually forming words. Sound familiar?
Yes. I see you are displaying our beautiful merch.
Why, yes.
As many as you know, Taco Tuesday has its own merch, graciously designed by our very own Debbie Brady, talent manager and creative director extraordinaire. I love my mushrooms and I love my alien. And you, of course, I felt it was too narcissistic to buy an image of myself.
Oh, no.
So, but I
No,
do
not at
love
all.
the fact that Flopsy is there with Mila, and so that's lovely.
It's very sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a good week? Did you have a good
Oh,
week?
good. Had a good week. Just same old, working on art, writing, making phone calls for you, uh, staying busy. And I mentioned before I'm doing volunteer work for the Democratic Party. And
Wow, good for
I
you.
said I said I would commit to writing 100 postcards. They told me at the Democratic headquarters, phone calls are very important. But they said personal handwritten postcards do get attention. They give you a pack of 25. They give you a script to follow and a list of 25 addresses per pack. These are all going to Nevada, where the Senate race is very close right now. So anyway,
Yes,
that's
it
another thing.
is.
Yeah, but I'm very proud of doing this. It's just a good feeling to be taking action. To every
Mm,
card I write, I feel like I'm putting my energy out into the world.
yes.
Doing this for the Democrats, doing this for Kamala, and hopefully stopping that orange man.
Well, before we get started with all of that, do we have anybody in the house today? Anybody here to say hi to us?
Let's see. We have Rose. We have Intuitive Kathy. I like that name.
Oh, I like that name.
We have Lisa. We have, and of course, Terry and Sally. And I'm just scrolling through here quickly. Angela, Roxanne. This feels like romper room with the magic mirror.
Of course. I see Wendy, our beautiful,
Goddess Val.
Wendy has designed the official hat for the
Oh,
Oracle of
yeah.
Doomsday, and I feel
Yes.
beautiful in it. Unfortunately, I cannot fit it on my head when I've got the earphones on. I guess I could
Oh,
use.
I
Yeah, there
bet
you
you could
go.
figure out a solution here. Wendy has been gracious to come watch my show on Mondays. And I think
Oh,
there was a
how
show, Wendy,
lovely.
you were asking about Whimsy's hat. And I said, oh, she loves it. I can assure you she loves it. In fact, I was watching the show when you were opening up the gift box and pulling the hat out and seeing it the first time.
Yes, well, I think we should just go right into it. Did you see The View
Oh,
today?
I sure did. Oh my
Uh-huh.
God. Yes.
Well, we don't want to disrespect The View too much, but basically they were talking about the fact that Trump had a rally. It was supposed to be a town hall in Pennsylvania, and
Hmm.
pretty much all they did for an hour.
Oh, whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the it's the top conversation. I check
Yeah.
and I see what people want to talk about,
Hmm.
and it is Linda G. Somebody just
Yeah.
mentioned her, our beautiful Linda G.
Yeah.
Has the
Well,
man completely lost it, or is it? Can they cover it? I've got so many questions to ask you, but let's
yes.
just start with the basic. Has Trump really lost it? Is it over for him?
I think he lost it a long time ago, but we're seeing it get much, much worse. One of the women on The View is Rachel, I hope I'm saying her name right, Rachel Farah Griffith, who used to be part of the Trump administration. I think she was originally Mike Pence's press secretary, and then she was later an advisor to Trump. And
Yes,
she was
yes.
commenting on The View. If you saw that, she said, I worked with him 4 years ago. He was not this bad 4 years ago. I am seeing a very noticeable decline, and it is. I'm paraphrasing, but she said it was very disturbing to see. She was very aware of it, having worked closely with him personally.
Do you think he's just trying to imitate Kamala because everybody is dancing and so happy at her rallies, and so he thought we can do that too? Is that
You
what's
know,
going on with
you
him?
know something. That's a good point. I did not even think of that, but I think maybe in his demented way, He was thinking that, but because he preaches all of this darkness, doom, gloom, fear, World War III. Kamala's rallies are happy. They're positive. They're enlightening. There's music. There is some dancing sometimes. So maybe that was in his mind, in his warped way, in his dysfunctional way. He thought of that. But also, did you see before this how he froze on stage? He was noticeably slurring his words, and he froze. And then he said something like, well, you don't want to hear all these dumb questions or something. Never mind, it was a town hall. That's the whole point. People to ask questions.
Well,
but he changed the subject.
Wasn't there something that came up about the fact that he was not able? Did I send that to you? I think I sent that to you.
You did.
That he freezes. Let's see if we can show that to the audience. We know that it's a tight race. There's some questions about whether or not 538 is being biased, but I think there's some real evidence that we can be concerned here. You can see Adam Mockler, he does some good work, was covering, are they trying to just get him through and get him? He's not doing interviews. Hold on, let's take a look.
Stage early after promising to take more questions. That is the weird part. Look at right there. Is he not swaying? Like, that's some wild swaying. Down here, you see this has 3.7 million views. So while this video is playing out, I'm going to explain that not only is this terrible for the Trump campaign, but it is perfectly beneficial for the Harris campaign.
So beneficial for the Harris campaign, not so great for him. Is it further up that he freezes? When does he freeze? Because I wanted to.
I'm not sure what point, but it was obviously before he started becoming karaoke Donnie.
It was before or after?
I think I'm pretty certain it was before. This is when this happened. And then he just said, well, you don't want to hear questions anyway. Why don't we listen to some music? And I understand it was even his personal playlist they were using. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, let's take a look at this.
Stage presence, but now it just looks like he's struggling to stand up straight. I want to end this off with a clip of our pro-democracy.
So, maybe a combination of Alzheimer's or some type of dementia. And, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to be focused, but the truth of the matter is I don't have my wand. Do you mind taking over while I grab my wand?
Your wand? Okay.
Yes. Talking to the people about what you think of the freezing, and I'm going to grab my wand.
Well, of the freezing, I mean, in addition to what Whimsy just said, she didn't get around to the part about his alleged prescription drug issues as well. So that could certainly be a contributing factor. Said he has an addiction to Adderall. Who knows what else the man is doing? I mentioned on a show once, I have my own theory that he's doing something like crystal meth, because I have been around people who have done that drug. I have seen that kind of erratic behavior, that kind of craziness. And it's also a drug that keeps you awake at night, hence Trump's famous 3:30 in the morning tweets and all of that, his ramblings and ravings. And but I noticed, like, even back in the days when he was doing his press conferences, during pandemic lockdown, when I was home during the day and I'd watch a lot of his press conferences, I would see a man, while he was still president, he would come unhinged. He was going crazy. He had a maniacal look in his eyes. Remember how he would go to reporters, well, that's a nasty question. You're a nasty person. Things like that. Very crazy then.
The other thing, do you ever watch Political Voices?
No, I don't.
One of the people, Political Voices with Stephanie Miller.
Uh-huh.
Let me see if I can find that. But she had Noel, whoops, let me mute this. Hold on a second. But she had Noel, whatever his name is. He broke his NDA. He was working for Trump, and he called working for Trump on The Apprentice the shit show because he would literally shit his pants, and they would have to break. And there was a guy there whose job was to wipe him down.
Oh. there's not enough money in the world for anyone
So
to have that job.
yeah, so
Oh God.
Will be breaking news.
so let me
So
see if I
these
can.
three
Okay, let me go ahead and go back here. I hate when that does.
will be breaking news of the day.
The future. I think there's an obsession here with focusing on 2020. I'm much more worried about what happened after 2020, which is a wide open border.
Okay.
I spoke to Hillary's campaign in 2016. You know, that was the main impetus for me speaking out. I broke the NDA to talk about what he did behind the scenes and the Adderall, but it was because he was in active addiction. But what I told people, what I saw was Jared and Vanke were running the show, right? Trump was like he is now. He just wants to walk in the room. He wants music to play. He wants to get high and hit on women. Like, he's very simple in his desires. Those two had the long game, and the after parties were like Russian mobsters, you know, with their 23-year-old girlfriends wearing fur coats in May, you know.
You want to talk about that?
Oh, where do we even start? I was even thinking back to what you said about The Apprentice, because working in West Hollywood, I talked to a lot of industry people, you know, people worked at the studios in the know I never heard that one about him crapping himself, but basically they said it was sometimes impossible to get anything coherent out of him. His call time would be 4 p.m.
Yes.
And then they would have to just do take after take after take, and then in the editing room try to find little snippets that made sense that they could put together to give the illusion, and the keyword is the illusion, that he knew what he was doing. And that that was a soundstage. That wasn't even his real life office. It was all make believe. It was semi-scripted.
Yeah,
so
crazy.
Yeah, and when talking about Trump's ego, I was reading somewhere that at Mar-a-Lago, he insists that whenever he enters a room full of people, everyone has to stand and applaud for him.
That's
Such an
really,
egomaniac.
really weird.
It's really, really demented, really strange. But yeah, what is your take on all this?
Well, I guess my first was, do you think he's always been this way, or is he just getting worse? I mean, Noel Kassler seemed to be saying he's always been crazy, but
Yeah.
I think that he's getting worse.
Oh, I think so too. I agree with that. I think he's always been this way. You know, you go back to stories people have to tell of back in the 80s when he was the big slumlord in New York, his erratic behavior, out of control. He was always lucky he had enough people around him who could shield him and protect his image. But Trump has always been his own worst enemy, in my opinion. Hence the Democrats have had that joke, Operation Just Let Him Speak. It's like, just let the man get out on stage and he just torpedoes himself like he did with this event.
Yeah, so that brings me to my next question. Going into the election, the gaslighting that we're hearing from the Republicans, people don't want to see his medical records. They see he's out there campaigning. They see he only sleeps 4 hours a night. Stop putting words in our mouth. This guy has his hand, he could have his hand on a nuclear freaking codes. Of course, God. We want to see his medical records. Don't be ridiculous.
Good God, yes.
Stop telling us, the American voter, that I am an American voter and I want to see his medical records.
Well, I mean, in all of these years, going back decades and decades and decades, he's the only presidential candidate to ever withhold his medical records, his financial records, his tax records. The fact that he won't even do interviews right now, he won't even agree to a second debate. Clearly, there's a cover up here. People are trying to shield him as best they can. They don't want moments like we just saw. That each time he gets out there on stage, he's sabotaging himself.
Yeah, the sane washing of Donald Trump, where the regular media is not covering it. And I guess the strategy going forward for the GOP appears to be, let's just hide him. We've only got 3 weeks to go. Let's hide him from the press as much as possible for the next 3 weeks, and just use old tapes and film footage and gaslighting and advertisements until November 5th. That seems to be the strategy.
Well, yeah, I think also the strategy is he has a huge core base. He's always had this, and they're not going to desert him no matter what, no matter how egregious this man behaves, how outrageous. Like now he's talking about fascism and Nazism. Nothing makes his supporters go away, and I think they're banking on that. I have a good friend I went to college with, and I keep up with him on Facebook. A very smart guy, but he has turned into a MAGA Republican. And, if I may, could I read like a quick little it's just like 3 sentences here, but I think this shows how brainwashed MAGA Republicans are, even so-called intelligent people. He wrote, "Third attempt on Trump's life. What's wrong with you Democrats? As soon as he announces that he's running for president, you weaponize the judicial system to try to bankrupt him, then jail him, and now you're trying to kill him. Are you terrified of a free and fair election?" I saw that. I was like,
And and the person with the gun who they arrested said, "Oh no, I'm MAGA. I'm just doing what I was asked to do."
"Oh, that's weird."
Well, if he was asked to go in and carry a gun, so it looks like people are trying to kill Trump, so that he
Oh
can
yeah.
say, "Oh no, I'm a prop. I'm an actor. I'm just playing a role so
Yeah.
that we can create this." I mean, this is some crazy stuff.
Well, I mean, it's just these 3 attempts on his life, and I know we have to be very careful what we say, but someone was pointing out, why is it they always happen on weekends during prime time where they get the
Yes.
most exposure, the most publicity? And anybody else, I would say that's just outrageous. Come on, but we're talking about Donald Trump. I just don't think there's anything too low for him. Anything. The
Wow.
man is desperate not to go to prison. He's going to do anything.
Wow. Well, we're going to continue to talk on this, and I know that Chuck wants to read all your comments, and we will. But before we do that, we want to announce that at 6:30 is it 6? No, 6:00
6
tonight.
o'clock.
We will be having the amazing Judy Ann Jamerson in our studios. We finally got our sound theoretically taken care of. I
Yeah.
hope we did, because she's a heck of a great writer. Damn, is she a good writer?
Yes, she is. Very
You know who
talented.
she reminds me of? The woman who wrote the Joy Luck Club. Who wrote the Joy Luck Club? It was
Oh, was it
Tan.
Amy Tan, wasn't it?
Amy Tan.
Yeah.
She reminds me of Amy Tan. And Amy Tan was somebody who could convey really deep ideas, but in very human ways. And
Yeah.
I see traces of Amy Tan in the writing of Judy Ann
Wow.
Jamerson.
I never read her book. I only saw the movie, The Joy Luck Club, but I know what you're speaking of.
Yeah, she's, Amy Tan and Judy Ann Jamerson speak to the people in a way where Amy Tan's mother struggled with English, and so did she, as somebody who I guess was bilingual growing up, but she was determined to become a great English writer, and to have it be in a language, in a way that spoke to people. And then after her mother read it, she said to her mother, who was not fluent in English, "How did you like the book?" And her mother said, "Oh, it was so good and so easy to read." And so for Amy Tan, that was the ultimate compliment. But I felt that the characters were so alive in Belle, and it was spoken in such a human way. I felt that it was similar to the writing of Amy Tan. Really,
That's quite an observation. I'm sure
Yeah.
Judy will take that as quite a compliment to
yes.
mention that to her.
Yes. Does anybody have any comments so far about what
Well,
we've been talking about?
let me see here.
You have to go further up though, because you missed a couple comments.
Did
If you
I?
go back 5-10 minutes, yeah, you need to go back 5-10
I
minutes.
might have to go back 5-10 minutes. Let me see here.
There's a lot of people talking about Mary Trump. There's a lot of
Let me scroll back here. Let's see. Trying to see the time here. I'm trying to find what was it about Mary Trump? Let me see here. I'm trying to find a comment.
Well, Ops Vixen, let me see if I can put a star on that. It's pinned. Mary Trump today stated the GOP was going to drag him over the finish line and declare 25th Amendment and put J.D. Vance in.
Oh, God.
Any feelings about that?
Well, it's all horrifying. Two totally inept, unqualified people. I maybe JD would be a little more competent than Donald Trump, but that's not saying much.
Intuitive Kathy says, and people forgot that he said he wanted to hear a particular song, but he couldn't remember what the song was.
Yeah, I think there was. He seemed lost. He seemed lost.
Mary Spirit says that some clips showed that they were rushing him off the stage.
I would say that's true. I think his quote unquote people are probably continually horrified by him because he does whatever he wants to do. Nobody can control him. And again, it comes back to that Democratic joke, Operation Just Let Him Speak. Let him, he'll bring himself down, apparently.
Schweikoff says his freezing looked like a mini stroke. You thinking it might be a mini stroke?
Something, I had thought of that. I had thought of that myself, and I'm sure you thought of it too, because those are some of the signs. It reminded me a little bit of Mitch McConnell. Those times where he froze, where he was just staring vacantly into space. And I'm also reminded of my late father. I wasn't present. He was in a nursing home at the time in Colorado, and I got a phone call here in LA. They said your father went into a trance for like 5 hours, just staring into space, and then he came out of it, and he was fine. So, and they didn't seem to think it was a stroke, but who knows?
Wow. Stumping for office says Sally GH is exhausting, and he isn't in good health anyways.
Yeah, and you've been bearing that at your last several shows, all throughout the week, about how Trump's health is failing. You even at one point felt that he would be out of the race because of his health. I don't know if you still feel that way.
Yeah, I think he is out of the race because of his health. I mean, now the race it goes on without him. Martha Griffin says, I don't think it's a tight race. What will happen to Trump will be lying and cheating his way to making everyone believe he wins when Kamala takes it in a landslide.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, I think a lot of people are worried what's going to happen because he's already threatening violence, mass violence, if the election is quote unquote stolen from him again or something. He's not going to go out quietly. And I know, I think Kamala was even asked about that in one of the interviews, and she said something to the effect, well, yes, I have my team of lawyers already looking into it, whatever that means.
All right, so switching gears, this is something that I was worried was going to happen. We can go ahead and talk about it. Is this concern that we getting closer to World War III? That was kind of the conversation. Are we getting closer to World War III? We have an aging president. We're in a very unstable time. No one knows who the next president is going to be. America looks weak. Ukraine is now dealing with people coming in. They now have North Koreans coming in to fight, though many are defecting because they're poorly trained. We now have a situation where North Korea has begun blowing up roads, which is stupid as all get out because they get aid from the West and they also get aid from China. So blowing up their supply route, gee, that's really going to hurt them. You think that they need you to help them? North Korea doesn't need your help. You need their help. But North Korea has been blowing up roads. The tensions are rising. So we're seeing this incredible tension beginning to happen in North Korea with South Korea. There's also been some firing back and forth that has been going on. And on top of all of that, China has been holding war games encircling Taiwan. As many people know, China feels that Taiwan is part of Greater China, just as they thought that Hong Kong was part of Greater China. The thing is that America is not saying we recognize Taiwan as a sovereign nation. We're saying that we recognize them having a separate government because of the separation that happened during the civil war in China,
Mhm.
where Mao took mainland China, and then you had the opposition flee to Hong Kong, and then when they had to flee to Hong Kong, they fled to Taiwan and were taken in by Taiwan. But President Lai Ching-te rejected Beijing's claim over the island. Are we looking at potentially World War III here? You know, Israel, of course, is on the verge of attacking Iran. That's another thing that's going on right now.
Wow. I mean, this is like an age-old question that has come up. You know, we are of age where we have heard this for decades. Oh, this is the start of World War III. It started World War III. But yes, you know, a lot of that was back in the Cold War days between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, and it was always said nobody can ever win a nuclear war, and that was almost a checks and balance for both sides. But what do you do when you've got lunatics, little countries much smaller have nuclear weaponry, and they're like loose cannons? And
Mhm.
also the fact that a lot of these nuclear missiles are aging. We don't know how effective they are or defective they are, what could go wrong. It is frightening, but my heart of hearts, I want to believe there will not be a World War III. I want to believe that. But
Or
what's your...
well, and the other question that I think people are asking is, are we already there? Are we already in World War III? You know,
Yeah.
now we have Netanyahu claiming that, first off, there are a lot of rockets that are hitting Israel now because we're running out of missiles to intercept the bombs coming in from Lebanon. And so one of the places that was hit was the military base. And so Netanyahu is now saying that he's basically going to attack Iranian military targets.
Oh, geez.
50 rockets fired from Lebanon in overnight salvo targeting the Safad area. They're going to just keep hitting us too. And it costs a lot of money. It costs $50,000 every time we shoot down one of their missiles. Can America continue to intercept these missiles? Eventually, the missiles are going to get in. Carmel, Haifa is vulnerable in the north. And recently, one of their military bases, many wounded, 50 rockets coming in, as I said, and
Yeah.
Something like 4 people killed.
Yeah.
Do you think that people in the West are just naive and they're just living in a fantasy world and they don't understand just how serious it is right now for Israel?
Well, I think there are enough people who are very naive. I mean, not to get back to Donald Trump, but all these huge blocks of people who support this lunatic. It tells me there's a lot of people who are just naive and in the dark, and they're not reading. They're watching television or whatever. They're not thinking. So I would say, yes, there is enough naivete.
Yeah. Well, what I think we should do now is I think we should go ahead and do the Empaths Prayer if you like. If you've got some oracle cards or you've
I
got
do.
your pendulum. If you have any questions for Chuck and I, we would love to answer your questions. Bring your questions to us. We are ready to rock and roll, as they say.
Just gathering
Uh,
my cards. They're slippery.
Gather up those cards. That's right.
Nothing like
Yeah.
being on live and you drop your cards, but it's
Oh,
okay.
that happens to me all the time. That happens
But
to
it's
me
okay.
all the time.
I am okay.
Uh, so we have Joel Tilson here. For those of you who don't know Joel Tilson is our official floor director, and he is here to help make sure that all of our questions are asked. So without further ado, let's come together and let's say the Empaths Prayer. If you know the Empaths Prayer, please say it with us silently or however you like. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys. to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together, collectively, as a community, we say, Amen.
Amen.
So hard to say that last part in the middle of an election year. You know, we are going to show love and compassion to those we have strife with while simultaneously strangling. What the hell is wrong with you? How could you be voting for him?
Like my friend on Facebook that I read that comment from. You know, a college friend, very smart. But I think that's so indicative of how brainwashed these people are by him.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's
Yeah.
terrifying. Well, let's see here what we've got going on. Jill Linda's question. Okay, Jill Linda had a question. Let me see what the question
What was the
is.
question?
I don't know. Somebody
let me
said,
s-
get back to Jill Linda's question.
Jill, you said? Let me see. I'm scrolling back also.
I don't see. Oh, could you look at, okay, I found it. I will go ahead and pin it for people. Could you look at what is actually going on behind the scenes of the Republican Party as they watch Trump fall apart?
Why am I immediately thinking of that comment about Trump defecating himself?
Oh my.
I almost feel like I don't even need cards here.
Oh dear. What is going on in the Republican Party while Trump falls apart?
Let's shuffle these cards more. Now, I had several things fall out, but first of all, I guess this was on the top of it. Family devotion, like no matter what, they're going to stick it out with him. Devotion. But underneath the cards, and I found it interesting, these three popped out: shame, despair, and discontent. So yeah, they're very devoted. They're going to put on their front. They're going to basically like the way family bonds together. Does that seem right?
Yeah, I mean, he's lost Republican support. He used to have 90% Republican support. Now he has 60, 70% Republican support. So he's losing Republican support.
I didn't realize there was that much.
Yeah, I think Cheney may have originally voted for him before the whole January 6th thing.
I'm sure of that.
So you have two roads diverging in a woods, right? You know, the dark and the light. Which way are they going to take on the road to the White House?
Uh-huh.
So what's interesting is it's crack that whip. They're going to do anything that, it doesn't matter if they go to the dark or the light. It doesn't matter. They want to get into that White House. They're going to get into that damn White House, crack that whip. And if they, the snake in the grass that bites like a viper, their own. Look, if they have to take the guy out in a coup and drag in Vance because JD Vance is, they're not paying for Trump. He's just a useful idiot. Trump is nothing but a useful idiot to get JD Vance in there so that they can get tax returns. They don't care even about bankrupting the American dollar.
No. Well,
which is what's going to happen if everybody pulls their money out of the US dollar and goes into crypto like Elon Musk wants. Great. And then we have a collapsed dollar, which is what happened with Russia. Everybody pulled out of the ruble and they went into Ethereum and they went into Bitcoin. And now do they not understand that if people don't put their investment in the US dollar collapses? Do people not understand that this is the danger of Bitcoin?
I just don't think so. I don't think they got it. Or at least I think there are plenty of people who do, but we've got a big segment that does not, that's still standing behind him, supporting this. But, you know, I kept thinking about Trump has always been like a distraction. Didn't Mitch McConnell more or less say that in private? That's why he supported Trump, because Trump was enough of a distraction with all of his outrageous comments and things that would make the news, that the Republicans could do their dirty deeds and get away with it while Trump was distracting everyone. And right now, it's like Trump is gaslighting the nation. You know, I was reading today that he's just assaulting the nation, the news media, with all these outrageous comments, one after the other, there's no time to even reflect upon things like the January 6th takeover. When he tried to take over the government, how he tried to steal the election. There's no chance because he's continually gaslighting, distracting. And maybe that is the purpose. They want Trump to be that distraction so they can just kind of get him in and then maybe, have JD take over. Maybe that's the real purpose.
The next question which is related to that, coming from Joel, is the Republican Party having secret meetings to discuss Trump's mental health problems? He's clearly, they'll talk about Biden's cognitive decline, but are they ready to talk about Trump's cognitive decline?
No. Just my intuitive hit is yes, but I'm sure it's not entirely secret that there have been conversations about this. It's the ironic to say the elephant in the room, the Republican Party, but it is the big elephant in the room. Trump's obvious declines, like what Rachel Farrah Griffith was saying on The View today. She worked with the man intimately in the White House, and she said it's very apparent how much he has declined. And we're having so many notable people coming forward saying he is not fit to serve in the White House. Simply is not fit.
Yeah,
not that
I
he
agree.
ever was.
Yeah, and I think it's very obvious that that is precisely what they're doing, and they're going to just try and get him out of the media as much as possible because of the disaster of what happened in Pennsylvania, and instead just try and win by bombarding the media with advertisements.
Yeah.
What else can they do?
What else can they do?
All right. This next question is coming from George Ergroy. Hi, George. Does Martin Luther King have a message for the United States and the world right now? Good question. We just celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day yesterday. So what do you think? Let's take a look.
I just heard something effective. Go steady. Steady the course. Steady the course. Steady the course. That's what I'm hearing, for whatever that means. Steady the course. Like keep the eye on the goal. Keep grounded. Keep stable. I'm getting something to that. Whimsy, I don't know, when you channel, sometimes what you're hearing is something that is abstract and you have to try to put it into words. But I'm basically getting that. Go steady. But what are you getting?
Someone's going to die. I'm seeing a death. I don't know if it's that. I don't usually predict death, but the cards are saying there's a passing. Also, Trump is in a medical crisis. He's medically sick. He's sicker than usual. Even if he used to defecate on himself, he's doing it more now.
Yeah.
They say he's evacuating in public. He just wants to listen to music. He's forgetting where he's at. He's getting stoned. The calla lilies of death.
Ooh.
Sarcophagus.
Are you getting this for Trump? His death?
The cross on the grave.
Wow.
These are not good cards. I don't know if we will. I know that Clinton probably voted by mail in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, because he was voting for Kamala. Oh,
you mean Carter, don't you? Jimmy Carter?
Yeah, Carter. But you can see the cards are very bad. The calla lilies of death, the sarcophagus, and then the cross I must bear. None of this is good for Trump. But then you have this loyal dog. This is somebody that we had talked about. Will he be at the rotunda if he dies? Will he be waiting in state? There are people that are going to have a problem with that because of January 6th.
Well, now, Whimsy, do you think it could be more like a metaphorical death, like the death of his reputation, the death of his presidency, the death of his career? Or you're getting it's definitely...
It reminds me of Miss America, when that guy he did how many 19 years of Miss, there she goes, Miss
Burt Parks. Yeah.
Okay, Burt Parks didn't live much longer after he stroked out during Miss America.
That's true.
How long did he live after
I
declaring that Miss Georgia was Miss Hawaii? You
I
know,
I'd have
he
to look
was,
that up, but I think you're right. He did not last much longer. He was so intrinsically tied in with that. That was his life. That was his image, and that was apparently very, very important to him. And here, come on, we're talking about the ultimate narcissist, Donald Trump. This is all so
but
important.
doesn't it remind you of the past of what was his name? Bill Barks?
Burt Parks.
Burt
Burt Parks.
Parks.
Yeah.
Doesn't it remind you of Burt Parks towards the end?
Well, there's certainly I see the similarities there.
Yeah, I mean, like he didn't know who was who. Miss Hawaii would come out and he'd say Miss Georgia, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
Oregon would come Miss Tennessee, and they'd be like,
yeah.
and he
I-
started talking to himself, and then who was it? Gary, whatever, from Sixth Sense was co-hosting.
Oh, Gary Collins. Yes,
Gary
yes.
Collins was trying to usher him off the stage, and he was
Yeah.
talking to himself, and then we all heard that he died soon after that.
Yeah.
That's what this looks like.
Well, that was almost like the rally the other day where he was listening to music on stage and dancing and stuff. You could see they were trying to get him off the stage. His people are trying to protect him as best as they're able to because he generally won't allow them. But yeah, it's almost like that, like the Hook taking him off stage, drawing the curtain, turning the lights off, anything to get them off the stage.
This next question is coming from Jude. Hi, Jude. Jude would like to know, how do you think Kamala is going to do on the interview at Fox? It looks like it's going to be a grueling 2 hours. And the main thing they're going to be talking about is abortion and Israel and foreign policy.
I think she's going to
So she's going to have to keep saying, I believe in a woman's right to choose. Well, for evangelicals, they are one-issue voters. They're pro-life. Well, then I'm probably not the person for you. I mean, there's not much more you can say. If that's how you feel, then don't vote for me because I support a woman's right to choose.
Yeah. I believe she will do great. That's just my own personal belief. I mean,
He canceled Fox.
Oh, he did, because he was
Yes.
going to do the morning show and then she was going to do the evening.
Because
on
of
the
these
same day.
mental health problems, his people canceled. So he's not even able to go on Fox.
Well, I had also heard a theory, because whenever the two are together, like the debate, it draws massive, massive audiences, and he doesn't want to bring more audiences to Kamala Harris. And also, he does not want the comparison of the two being seen side by side, or at least his people don't want that. So there's probably something behind it there. But I got a couple of cards here, and the one is interesting to me. Well, this one is just so obvious. Life force. Kamala is going to be fine. She's going to be grounded. She's going to be centered. She's going to be in her power. She's tough. It's basically, hit me with your best shot. Come on, fire the questions at me. I'm ready. So I think she's going to be great. Yeah, hit me with your best shot. But something, I saw a thing earlier today where she was giving an interview. I think it was for a podcast. And she was talking about how tough the election is and so forth. But she said, I am going to win. And it wasn't like a candidate say, yeah, I'm going to win. It was very resolute. Like she knew something. I'm going to win. Because I got this card, psychic awareness. I think she's
into the psychics. She said that she's into astrology. She's into all of this. I
got that vibe earlier. There was something in the tone of her voice and the way she said it. Very resolute, very simple, very direct. I am going to win. I'm going to win. Like she knew it, like psychic awareness. So this card.
But Hillary knew she was going to win. So that's why I'm not going to get comfortable until we all vote. We all have to vote.
Yeah. Of course, Hillary did win the popular vote. She was right in that.
But we got to do better than that. We got to do better, But Fox, she's entering into dark clouds. So it's going to be a hard start. They're going to come. They're not going to hold back.
Oh, no. She knows that, though.
And also, dealing with confusion. It's dark clouds, and they are reconciling themselves. I think how I feel is that they are reconciling themselves to a 4 years Harris. Better not luck next time. Next time we need to have just a better candidate, because there's dark clouds over this, and she's dealing with her opposition is in a maze of confusion. If you're doing a blitz, for those people who want to know how to do a blitz corresponds to the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of a Celtic cross. And the 7th house is the immediate environment of the querent, and the 8th house is the environment of the opposition or the person you're having or issue you're having a challenge with. So dark clouds are over her. She's ready for them to really come down on her in terms of how they are perceived from the universe, the Akashic field. They're walking around in a freaking maze of confusion. Mm-hmm. And that, it doesn't surprise me that Fox News viewers are not necessarily bad people, but they're being given a lot of misinformation. And there she is. She gets the rose. She gets the rose. Mm-hmm. And the final outcome for her is the star. So they're going to be hard with her, but they're going to also have to accept the fact that I am pro-choice. She just has to go in and she has to claim it. But it's killing babies. Well, then I would, people without medical training should not be making medical decisions for women.
Exactly.
If exactly. She just has to be, I understand you feel that way, but we disagree.
Mm-hmm. No,
I am not, I don't need your vote. The truth of the matter is, as Kamala, I don't need your vote if you believe that abortion is murder. Yeah. I recognize that that's what you believe. I don't feel that way because a clump of cells is not the same as a baby coming out of you with a whole brain, mm-hmm. It's just not the same thing, folks. If that were, 50% of pregnancies lead to miscarriage and the woman doesn't even know she's pregnant. Do people know that? Which you just had a late period. We're not going to have a funeral every time you have a late period, folks. Come on. So she gets the star.
I'm not surprised by that.
I think they're going to be tough on her, but I think that they are also accepting the fact that she is the next president.
Well, I think, I agree with you. There's no question they're going to be brutal on her, but she's walking in there knowing that. As Rose was just saying here, she's a prosecutor. She knows how to argue a case in a hostile courtroom. She eats people like this for breakfast. She knows what she's doing. But I'm also thinking, I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but there's a saying that sometimes the acid test only makes you shine brighter when you come out of it. And that's what I'm getting the image. This is going to be tough. But as you're confirming, she's going to emerge victorious. She's going to emerge a star. Like I got the card Life Force. She's going to be fine. I'm not worried about her.
All right. Well, before we close, we always like to do something that's a little bit fun and a little bit off the cuff or just a little bit woo-woo. And I don't know if you heard this latest thing about Al Pacino where he flatlined. Did you hear about that? He flatlined.
I didn't hear about it until today when you sent me the article. I wasn't aware. I didn't know that he had COVID.
Yes.
I didn't know he was gravely ill.
Yeah. So he flatlined. He died in hospital. And he said that the lights went out. And when you're dead, you're dead. There is no hereafter. It's like what he saw in his near-death experience was that when the light goes out, the light goes out. When you're dead, you're dead. Now, is it that the lights go out, or is that all that he remembered of the near-death experience? Because there are many people who experience REM. They experience sleep. Yeah. We know because in sleep studies, we see that the person is dreaming. But then when we wake them up after in a sleep study, they will have no memory of the experience. Did he actually experience nothing, or is it simply that he took nothing back?
Well, that was the first thought I had. And also I had a question. Was he definitely pronounced dead, or does he just believe that happened, that he was flatlining? I know he was very close. I read about how they had 6 paramedics working over him. There was no pulse. But was it confirmed that he was actually dead for a while, like a minute or two or whatever amount of time it was?
Well, 4 years ago, after contracting COVID-19 in 2020, he said that he almost died of the virus. He said he was waiting for the white light. So he was definitely actively experiencing the death process, and he was lying there waiting to see the white light. He had the infection. He was severely dehydrated.
Yeah.
His pulse, he had no pulse. And you said you go into nothingness, that, you know, it brings up all kinds of conversations. Does everybody experience an afterlife is another thing that,
Oh, that's a good point.
you know, if you don't cultivate a soul, if you don't mature a soul, if you don't develop a soul, will you be born into the next world? And if so,
Gee.
what kind of world will you be born into? This is
Yeah.
something that Tibetan Buddhism talks about, which is to contemplate your own death, to actively contemplate your own death, and
Yeah.
to meditate on your own death, because um, if you don't prepare yourself for your own death, then you will
Yeah.
be as a newborn, you will be as a premature child in the next lifetime,
Mhm.
ill prepared for what you are entering and what you're going to see. And could it be that he simply was not
Well,
um, dealing with this?
sounds almost like a purgatory or something, a waiting room. I don't know, but there are plenty of other stories. I mean, you've heard the story. Elizabeth Taylor once gave an interview to Barbara Walters, and she died on the operating table. And that was a proven fact. She died on the operating table, and she told Barbara Walters, I most definitely followed the light, went up. And she even said her late husband, Mike Todd, greeted her on the other side.
Who
And
is this? Who is this?
Elizabeth Taylor.
Okay, yeah, I should have known that with
And
Mike
she said,
Todd.
Mike Todd greeted her, and she said it was so beautiful and wonderful. She was so happy. She was so happy to be out of her body and be there. And she said this to Barbara Walters. Mike Todd said, no, Elizabeth, you have to turn around. You have to go back. You have not finished your purpose on earth. You have to go back. And then she was revived on the operating table. And she said she remembered that vividly. And Barbara Walters was like, are you afraid to tell this story publicly? And she said, no, it's the truth. I'm not afraid to tell this story to the public. So it's just one other side, if that's worth anything.
Wow. Okay. So no show would be complete without a little bit of gossip. As you know, in the world of Hollywood, a lot of people are having a little bit of a problem since Diddy done be arrested. One of the people that's in trouble appears to be Ashton Kutcher. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think the feds have already talked to? I'd be shocked if he didn't have to give a deposition.
I'd be shocked too. He's linked too much to Diddy. As far as a marriage breakup, I mean, come on, it's Hollywood. Are any of us ever surprised when we hear of a couple breaking up and divorcing? I mean, maybe that's a shallow statement to make, but yeah, I wouldn't be shocked by this. But I haven't really heard anything one way or the other about their breaking up.
Well, I guess my question to you, and then we're going to go ahead and bring Judy on in another minute. But could you be, if you found out something like that, if you were dating Angelina Jolie, like the most beautiful woman in the world, and you found this in her closet, would you be out the door, or would you stand by your girl?
I would tend to think I'd want to leave because that says a lot about a person's character that's very unsavory. I'd find it very disturbing. The likelihood is me personally, I would leave a situation like that.
So many relationships have ended since this whole Diddy thing came out. The other one is Jello. Her marriage is over.
J-Lo. But I was just thinking, I'm sure she is not naive or stupid. I'm sure she knows everything about her husband. So this is not like some revelation or something. So I don't know if that's the cause for them divorcing.
Yeah, I mean, like, why would, it's like, this is what I have a hard time understanding about Hollywood, is why in God's name would a woman want to, I don't give a damn if you're famous, get the heck away from me.
Some people, if it's advantageous to their career, they'll sell their soul to the devil, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I'm not
matter.
Like that. Goodbye.
You're not. Thank God you're not.
Yeah, like who wants to live? So you're going to be living you're going to be abused by a psychopath in a nice house. I mean, what the heck? I'd rather have my studio and own my own soul, my own life. You know what I'm saying?
Me too.
Yeah, well, you have a
Total
beautiful
agreement.
studio and you've got priceless art all over the place.
Well, the only reason
Yes,
I have this, I know we
that's
need to cut to the book interview, but I only brought my Lucille Ball art here because today is the 73rd anniversary of the premiere of I Love Lucy.
I
The show
thought
has
so. Yes.
never been off the air since
Wow.
1951. 78 countries, I forget how many languages, and it has been estimated to have been seen by over 3 billion people. Anyway, that's why I had my artwork back there.
Beautiful piece of artwork. And for those people who don't know, Chuck has his own YouTube channel, which is Chuck.
Chuck's Captivating Chronicles, and I do Chuck's Captivating Chat on Mondays, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, much like we do here on Tuesdays. I always talk about you on my show and say,
Oh,
well, doing this tomorrow, you know, but you're the reason
yeah.
I do all of this. All of this.
And what did you think of the book? Did you
Oh,
get
oh,
affected about like I did? Because I got really affected by
mm.
this book. Yeah.
She's a beautiful, innate writer. She has a lovely style. And I say this always, but it's the most wonderful thing to read a book and you feel like you know the person. I always feel that way. I know the author. I want to meet the author. I want to talk to them. And we get to do that.
We do get to do that. All right.
Yeah.
Without further ado, everyone, please welcome the amazing Judy Ann Jamerson. Hello, Judy. Are you
Hey,
with us?
Judy. I feel like you know
Is
the
she
person. I
there?
always,
Judy,
hey,
Judy.
Judy. I know the author. I want to meet the author. I want to
Oh
talk.
my God, you're gonna have to put. Uh-oh. We can hear her talking. Everyone, please welcome the amazing. We're getting the back. Hello, Judy. Are you with us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh,
Hey, Judy.
Judy, you should be muting. You should be muting. Oh my God, you're gonna have to put.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
where'd I have my? Okay,
Yeah, you should only be able to hear me through the microphone. Oh, what happened?
Froze
Oh,
up
she
there for a
froze.
moment.
can you
Okay.
hear me?
No, no.
Yeah, there you go. I can. Can you hear me?
I forgot I had my phone on.
Oh, that's okay. Well, welcome. I'm glad we finally fixed the mic situation. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for being here.
It's so good to have you, Judy.
I'm so honored, Whimsy and Chuck. I am. Thank you so much.
Well, I could say the honor is ours also. You've got a lot to be proud of. You're a very
Thank
talented
you.
writer, and I recognize
Thank
your
you.
love and your passion for what you do. And I guess the first question is, what drew you to Belle? What inspired this? What made you want to write Belle?
Her sadness, the grief. I think about it, and I think it kind of reminded me of my grandmother when my mother
Oh,
unexpectedly passed away from an illegal abortion, as a matter of fact, in 1959.
oh my
And
goodness.
it was so sudden, so unexpected. Yeah, it was an
That's
event. Yeah.
very timely
Yeah.
to bring that up
Yeah.
right now.
And so I was it was four of us children. I had two sisters and a brother. And I don't know, I was a very sad little girl. I always wore black. I wore dark colors all the time, because
Oh,
I was sad all the time, but it took a while to come up out of it. So I've had a lot of grief in my life, so
yeah.
yeah.
Well, then I have to ask you, do you use things like your grief and your sorrow in your creativity, your writing
Yeah.
process? Because I've done that with my own artwork, my own
Yeah.
writing. It's like there's a gift in everything.
Yes, because when my son suddenly a horrible accident, he was 23 at the time.
Sorry.
I have 9
Oh,
So
children.
sorry.
He was my third child, and when my kids kept coming to me, we miss him too, but we're still here.
Yeah.
You have, they needed my kids for needing me because I wanted to grieve,
Yes.
And so I finally, when I finally got up from the bed, I had to start doing something. I had to keep busy. I had to, so I just started writing. I always wrote
Oh,
and I sing, and also I always wrote, but then it just started pouring out of me. So that helped me,
Oh,
it helped me, and I just kept writing, and so Belle
oh,
stuck with me because I remembered when I used to see Belle and I
uh-huh.
asked somebody, because sometimes you would see Belle and she'd be dressed up, she'd come to church up in church, and I
Mhm.
asked somebody one day because you'd see her and she would be in the parking lots of the I mean, where you go get liquor. I don't know why liquor stores,
Your
and
liquor
she'd
store.
be way over in a corner by herself, and she'd be out of it, and she'd be just laying there. And I thought it was the saddest thing,
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I asked somebody what happened to her. Now I don't know the validity of it. About her child dead, and so
Yeah. Well,
whether
you
it really happened to her or not, I don't know. But that's where I drew it from.
you came from a very empathetic place,
Yeah,
from a place of love and understanding. I'm very touched by that as I was hearing you say that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's and like I
Oh,
said,
that.
I've had a lot of grief in my life. My children's
Yeah.
father, he was murdered, and
Hmm.
he came to me. He came to me one day. He had done a lot of things to me. Not nice things, and so I didn't want to be bothered anymore. And so, but he came to me one day and he said, "Judy," he said, "if you don't marry me," he said, "I'm going to die in August." I said, "What?" And it made me angry because I'm thinking, how awful for you to try to make me feel guilty or whatever and then marry you, because you're going to die in August. But then he had tears in his eyes. And so he started, he, I was sitting in the choir stand one day and somebody touched me, said, "Judy, look," he joined church and we were at a funeral. Otis Redding, the singer Otis Redding, his
Yeah.
cousin, he went to my church. He passed away. And he was at his funeral, and he was telling the deacons and things that he wanted to be a deacon. I'm like, something is on him. You know, he died. He got murdered August 29th, 1987 by
Yeah.
somebody he didn't even know. And I kind of regret sometimes that I never asked him why, what, and why are you saying this to me? What's upon you? But it was like he was rushing to get his life in order. He ran down and got the marriage certificate. He went to
Oh,
get the
wow.
blood test,
Wow.
all
Yeah.
of that, and but before we got married, and my pastor told me, he said, "Judy, marry that boy." I said, "I'm not marrying him, all the stuff he did to me."
Right. Right.
And he said, "No, you should marry him." But but before I did, he was murdered, and that's how it
Oh
happened.
God.
Yeah.
One of the things, there were a couple of scenes in Belle that uh, really kind of struck me, like when
Mm.
people are trying to get her to be rational at the funeral, like,
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
and she hauls off and she punches one of the kids. I mean, like,
Oh.
I felt it was so human and so raw, and I wasn't prepared for it
Yeah.
because she seemed like, oh, I love to go to church and I go to church all the time and I'm this wonderful person. And then it's like, whoa, she
Yeah.
goes crazy. And that's the first indication that she's truly not herself.
Yeah. She was a piece of work, though. I mean, and she honestly used to say, she used to do all some of the things that she used to say, "I'm a lady," and you might see her drunk or whatever, but she was.
Oh.
I would go to her to the restaurant to get something to eat, and I never drank anything because I always wanted to eat first, and I just offered her to. I had never touched it, and she looked me up and down.
Oh.
Like I insulted her. But see, she would come to church and she would have her Bible in her hand and she would be talking. That's what made me write the scenes like that, because she would be talking out and the pastor would tell her, Belle, if you're gonna sit here, you gotta be quiet. So
Yeah.
it's good to do that.
That's so sad. My God. So that was the other thing I noticed is that the thing that really also struck me about human nature is that when we are down, when we are vulnerable, it kind of reminded me of the New Testament. You'll be judged by how you treat the least among us. Like those people that try to help the vulnerable, that
Yes.
really go out of their way to protect the vulnerable. You had those people in the story, like the police
Yes.
officer, they're really
Yes.
trying to protect the vulnerable. And then you have the predators.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, they're just looking for an easy mark, and she experienced both. Can you talk a little bit about that, like how that played itself
Well,
out? Like,
I came up because some things in this book actually Belle actually did. And you'd be surprised at the ones that she really did, And the thing that happened to Belle, as far as when the predators who were the ones who would pick up people from the street so they could draw checks from them. Now that didn't happen to Belle, but I knew of someone else. So I drew from things that I knew, that happened to someone else. Because there were two people I was thinking about writing about many years ago. And I said it's either going to be Belle or the Godfather. We called him the Godfather, but it ended up being Belle because of my situation. And that happened. I asked one day what happened to him, and they said that some people had gotten a hold of him and they were drawing a check, and he couldn't get away like that. So that's where I got that idea, because people actually do that.
that's so evil. I've also heard of people moving into old people's homes and taking over and refusing to leave.
Yes. Yes. It's awful, what people will do. I don't know how people, because I'm not made like that, but there are some people who can absolutely just do some horrible things,
When my sister had to move to care because she was dying, then from there she went to hospice, but she had to move her electric scooter, all of her stuff, and a woman offered to help her. She piled all the stuff in the car and then took it. So
Yeah.
my sister went into the treatment facility with all of her things, including her wheelchair stolen, her oxygen, her everything stolen. And the woman just sold it on eBay or wherever.
I don't know. I just really don't
understand.
know
I know.
how people can do things like that.
I don't understand it either.
Just predators, and so grief is a horrible thing. Like one of my sons almost killed me. He stabbed me multiple times, and we
Jeez
found out
Louise.
later. I know you don't know half the things I've been through. I used to say I don't know why or how I'm still here, but then I figured it out. I'm meant to be, and so he found out that he's schizophrenic, but he had a hard time dealing with his brother's death, and then he started doing drugs, and then we found out he was actually schizophrenic, and he was trying to figure out how to deal with it. So he went to prison for about 12 years. He's here with me now, and I love him,
You actually let him live with you after that?
After 12 years, he's on medication. He's on medication.
You're an amazing soul, Judy.
And I feel he's my child, and I actually do feel safe with him, so.
You are just amazing.
But I'm not stupid either.
What is it? No, you're not. You are anything but stupid. You are.
Make sure you take pills.
No, you're a very intelligent, practical woman. That comes across, but you've got great heart. You're a tremendous soul, Judy. I mean, I'm very moved just listening to your stories. And it doesn't surprise me that you're a writer. In fact, I'm sitting here thinking, thank God you are a writer. You've got a vessel to take all of these incredible experiences.
Yeah, I have to, because that's the way, just like Whimsy sings, you have to.
Yeah.
That's my testimony.
That's part of your purpose.
It's my testimony. And I remember my mother could sing. I was 6 years old and I could still hear my mother. I could still hear her sing. My mother had a beautiful voice. I got it from her.
Wow. Nice. So Judy, would you be able to read an excerpt from Belle for us today so people can hear your beautiful words?
Okay. With the bus driver's moderate protest, Belle politely sat in front of the bus, grateful for resting her tired legs. She wasn't very chatty today. She had a determined destination today. Today, she mostly felt like riding. She did not allow cross, angry, pitied looks and the holding of noses to distract her from her goal. She needed rest, and she wanted to be in solitude. She finally stepped off the bus, ending up at Venice Beach. Holding the straps of her cheap straw hat that someone had discarded, she swung it along as she walked to a quiet spot. She had no picnic basket or blanket. It was just her and the sand. She sat down in it and ran her feet through the cool, fine grains. She couldn't remember the last time she'd come here. This was not the kind of place she frequented because she wasn't all that fond of the vastness of the ocean. Today, though, she felt a need to connect with nature. She was frantically trying to find the answers to what her purpose on this earth meant and to whom was her purpose to benefit, because she could no longer give all in any universe where the three of her girls were not the total sum. She constantly vacillated between shock, disbelief, and anger, but never quite made it to any sort of acceptance. She sat for a long while undisturbed, then got up and walked into the rocks where she sat, amount of rocks where she sat, and resting the bottom of her foot on the largest of them. She gazed out into the water until the sun began to set, her chin resting on her right knee. Belle, oblivious to the crisp coolness in the air, was emptied out except for the raw longing she felt in every bone in her body. She cried into her now cupped hands hard until she ended up on her knees, caring little that they were at this point scratched and bleeding. Today, Belle's spirit was truly spent. She wasn't in the mood to be flippant. She wanted no parts of beach security. Darkness fell. She promptly picked herself up and left, forgetting about the blisters on her weary feet. She walked, passing up bus stops after bus stop, trying not to think about what her life was before grief had sucked the zest for being out of her. She saw the lightning flash. She heard the thunder roll. She felt the rain as it pelted and drenched her, but she wouldn't take refuge. What did one more downpour matter? Belle was already surrounded by purple rain. She walked fast and hard. She was mad. Belle was the girl interrupted for 2 hours, determined. She pounded the pavement until something within her finally said, enough. Shivering, she at last stepped onto a bus, riding only for minutes before she came to recognizable territory. Not bothering to look for familiar faces, she went into the liquor store and purchased a pint of cognac. Belle was not in the disposition for the savoring, gulped the entire bottle down at once. Mr. Riggs had turned into a few hours before. He'd been a little under the weather lately, but had been watching out for his neighbor, hoping out of the rain. Bill's spare key he saw the door of her garage with her neighbor unaware of her presence. Checked there for their mother. Of course, most of the time she wasn't in the garage, but on a few occasions when Bear wanted to steal away, she'd gone in there where she had a lower standard of the comforts of home. Pulling off the soaked clothing in the dark, she felt around in the cupboard for her old robe. She'd intended to send some things to Goodwill. She had no problems falling asleep easily for the first time in a while because she had worn herself thin and her body simply could not go any further. She awakened, looked at the little cheap alarm clock resting on one of the shelves. It was 2:30 in the morning. Who was in her yard this time of morning, she wondered. She purposely unscrewed the light bulbs weeks back. She eased up from the old sofa and stood to the side of the window above it. Discreetly, she peeked out the small blind. Someone had a flashlight and was standing upon the small table, resting against the wall on the outside, trying to see through the top portion of the window where there was no covering. The light lingered on her car for about 40 seconds. Then she heard the table give way and the person fell, cursing the table as he hit the ground. He then picked up his flashlight, leaving the table where it landed, and she thought maybe he had gone over. Belle had her hands wrapped around a bat the whole time, waiting to lay somebody out cold. She thought she had a handle on her visitor, though. She was beginning to think she owed him one. There was no way she was going back to sleep. When she was sure he was gone, she crept to a corner of the garage where she knew a 5-gallon gas can to be. In a few hours, she would fill it up, making a mental note to make sure she had matches. She sat back and anxiously waited. Okay.
Oh,
Joan Didion, man. It's just like Joan.
you're powerful.
I'm a little vengeful.
You know,
Really?
there's a book called On Writing Well, and I read it, and he said, don't waste words. Don't waste words. Just be as clear as possible, and
Yeah.
that's what Joan Didion does. That's what Amy Tan does, and that's what Judy Ann Jamerson does.
Which
You're
we
a heck
do.
of a writer.
You are. I just
Thank
loved
you.
listening to you read your own words. Are you going to do an audiobook version of this? Because you should read the book yourself. You should. You should.
Eventually,
I loved listening to
I
you.
didn't promote it. Yeah, I didn't promote it the way I should have. I used to have a really big drive, and I just went for things, and I've been a little slow for,
Yeah.
doing other things or whatever. But I'm getting back to it.
Oh,
But I
I
really
want to
appreciate
encourage you.
this.
I want to encourage you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever do public readings besides what we just did here, but you were just captivating.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had a
Captivating your own
teacher
words.
once who wanted me to join a reading class.
Oh yeah.
Speech class. Yeah.
Oh, it's just a
So
gift you already have. You already have. To hear
yeah.
you reading your own beautiful words, that was the first thought. You must record this. You must get this out more.
Yeah.
This is almost as special as your writing itself, to hear your emotions, your
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, we have some.
And when I wrote a
Yeah,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you have some comments from some of the fans here.
Oh.
Mary Ann Tracy writes, new to the book thing, Jameson and you, great conversation. I'll buy the book. Thank you.
Yeah.
The
Thank
predator
you.
thing right now reminds me that Trump is a political predator. I love Miss Jameson. Cheryl Nash, you got another fan here. Cheryl Nash, Mac
Thank you.
Isaac says, so beautiful. You're an amazing writer.
Yeah.
Thank
Kay
you.
saying, wow, love
Kay
your
Travel
writing.
Tarot says, wow, love your writing. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
she sounds like Faulkner. Okay, so wow.
Ooh.
For those people who would like to check out Judy Ann Jamerson's book, Belle, you can pick it up at Eckhart Press, and we have a link to that channel, to that website. Go ahead and do that. And we would love to have you back when you have another book ready to go.
Yes, please do.
Yes.
We didn't even ask you
Okay.
about your other books.
Thank
There's going to
you.
be a series, right?
Well, yeah, but one I was thinking about last night. I'm not going to talk about it long, but I went back to California for a funeral, and it was like a reality thing. So I'm calling it the funeral reel.
Oh,
And I started writing it. Oh my God, it was just the girl, one of my neighbors. She just, it was crazy. She put on this long, it was 87 degrees, and she just had so bad. One of those Chicago coats, and it
yes.
from all the way down, and it was burning up, and it just a lot of other stuff she did, and it was
Oh, wow.
awful. She got mad at me because I couldn't co-sign it. So
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Judy,
Thank you, Judy.
and thank you,
Oh.
everyone who has
Thank you.
been here.
Oh,
We want to make an announcement that we have a new book of the month. Our new book. I don't know if Chuck has already
I haven't
received his
received
copy.
it
It's
yet.
in the mail.
Amen.
It's on its way. Your new book is the new book of the month is The True Nature of Energy Transforming Anxiety into Tranquility. Diane Wing. That is our next book of the month club.
Okay.
And hopefully
The
we'll
true
have
nature.
Diane here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking forward to
Is,
this book. I
is
can
she
use
on?
this.
She's probably on Amazon, huh?
yes, I actually was able to get Chuck's copy on Amazon.
And her name is
And
what? What's her name? Diane.
yeah, Diane Wing.
Okay.
Yeah, so Diane, please reach out to us so that we can set up your interview.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Judy.
Thank
We had
Oh,
such a
thank
great time with
you
you, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
very much. So thank
All
you
righty.
so much. It was an honor, Judy.
Thank you.
you.
Yeah.
All right, Chuck, did you have any announcements that you wanted to make before we
I think I pretty much covered it earlier. And then my show, my channel, showed some Lucy art there. I don't know. Is there anything you can think of I missed?
I think that's it. If anyone's trying to get in for a reading with me, you can find the information in the channel description. So be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. And we'll see you next time. Don't forget to vote and vote early.
Please. Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.